Fun Dad fact number 14. If you haven't gained at least 5 pounds over the Thanksgiving weekend, you haven't really done Thanksgiving. I'm Matt Howes, and this is Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. Winners, welcome back to another fun-filled episode of Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. I'm Matt Howes, and here we are again, folks. We are killing it, we are crushing it, we are rolling with the punches. We have gotten over 1,000 downloads of our little show here, and I just want to thank all y'all out there for being there and a part of my journey. As I do every week, I thank you, because without you, I wouldn't be here. Well, I would be here, but I'd be talking to a wall. Well, I am talking to a wall, but I'd be talking to a wall with no listeners. Well, I'm really excited because we're getting some flow, some steam. Actually want to start out with a shout out to a buddy of mine I went to high school with, Nick Doyle. Just started a Dads of the South Shore brand, like a Facebook group and a page, and he's got merch, and he's going to start a podcast, and it's great. It's another dad joining up on the let's take charge of being in a big part of the dad nation, as we call it. You know, it's good that dads are themselves, like me, like Nick, like many other people who started stuff like this, are starting to get their things together, get their shit together, because it's nice to know that there are other people out there like me who want to start something. So want to be like, hey, don't forget about dads. We do oftentimes get schlepped off to the wayside, and it is a little frustrating sometimes when you know that you're definitely just as equal as the moms out there, and you don't get the same kind of credit. And that again is why I started this podcast, not for credit. This podcast necessarily was for me to vent, and it turned into something a little bit bigger, which is great. But it's good that there are dads out there who also want to share that there are good, great, wonderful fathers in the world out there, and it's amazing. So Nick Doyle, enjoy Dads of the South Shore. I joined up. If you are on so I'm from Boston. And that's a New England. It's the South Shore of Boston. That's where I grew up, was the South Shore. And so yeah, if you're on the East Coast, or even if you're not, join up and check out. They got some cool merchandise on there. Not sponsored. We'll point that out. I don't think I'm going to be sponsored. But yeah, so check it out. Dads of the South Shore. It's on Facebook, and they have a link to the store. And good for you, Nick. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. But here we go. We're going to push on into the best segment we all know that starts this little show off. Just a little bit of Dad Advice. Are your forearms feeling weak? Are your biceps feeling deflated? Since you had a child, have you been unable to get those workouts that you've been so desperately needing? Now, yes, carrying around and schlepping around a child does provide you with a different sort of workout for your shoulders and your muscles here and there. But if you want to get your pump on, do what I do. Lean back in the recliner, put your arms up with your baby in both of your hands, looking down at you, and then do some reps, man. Do some reps. Build those muscles, man. Bro, just do some cool reps with your baby. It's fun for them, it's great for you, and it tones you up. That's today's dad advice. Use your baby as a resistance band, essentially. And it is a constantly fluctuating level of weight, so your body will not get used to it, as it is going to be getting heavier and heavier. Boom. And that's today's dad advice. All right, guys, I got a bunch of stuff for you here. The holidays were phenomenal, let me tell you this. We did the first Thanksgiving with Lord Penelope Grace, and she had a blast. The whole family was down here. We had ourselves a time, and we cooked. I made the green bean casserole, and if anyone tells you that the back of the French's onions can recipe is not great, then they're wrong. In fact, I did that one, but my wife and I are planning on toying around. I think I might do some chopped jalapenos in it. Something for a little kick. I love me a little spice, but that's notwithstanding. We got the day started by loading old Penny, she getting old now, into the car and driving her out in my new Lexus, and I'm a Lexus guy now. So I'm going to make this podcast premium only. So be prepared to subscribe. All right. $100 an episode. Pretty simple, pretty standard. We're Lexus people in this family now. I've been fucking with my wife all week with that. Like I told you, I bought my mother-in-law's Lexus off of her, and it's very good condition, but it's an older, so it's not like a brand new one, but it's phenomenal. And every time I'm like, oh, can you put on booties with that? I don't want you to get any dirt on the Lexus. And she took it to the store the other day, and when she got back, I was like, oh my God. She's like, what? I'm like, oh, I thought something happened to the Lexus. Because, that's just how I am. But yeah, we went drove all the way up. First off, we went to my mother-in-law's house 3 days in a row, and that is a bit of a hike, especially with a baby who doesn't love long car rides at the moment. She'll fall asleep eventually, but 3 days in a row, up and down and up and down and up and down, and it was a lot. But Thanksgiving was fun. We got there and just got cooking right away. Everybody was having a good time. Penny had no end of laps to sit on, and she had a giggle fest to end all giggle fests. We had a new little one of those walking chairs for her I set up that my mother-in-law purchased, and I built that. She had so much fun. She can't really walk in it yet, but she was fun sitting up. She doesn't like to be in one place for too long now. That's one of her things. She gets bored. She gets stir crazy, and it's fine. We all get that way, so that makes sense. But we had her in that. We had the Cadillac of high chairs at the table, and it was just like this crazy concoction. And by the way, I don't know if any other dads out there have to deal with this. I feel like our old high chairs and stuff, first off, our old high chairs didn't even have clips and straps in them. But these new ones have this weird ring clip where there's 2 shoulder straps, 2 side straps, and the bottom middle strap. And you have to delicately hold the shoulder strap, which has like a half crescent moon, over the side of the circle, and then clip a clip into that, and then there's exactly the same on the other side. And that's the same way our stroller is, and it's so obnoxious. Like, you couldn't have come up with a better solution than this. And my wife can't have nails anymore because of all this, which, well, that's Maso Menos anyways, because that saves us money. But she wouldn't be able to open any of these things if she had like her nails, because of the way that they're designed, and it's kind of like rocket science at this point. But safety is safety, gotta be safe with the kids. I know it's mocking, but you do. And then we sat down for dinner. She did not eat obviously any food with us, but she did have her first food. After, expressly telling everyone she's not starting solids until 6 months, my mother-in-law proceeds to give her a dab of pudding on her finger, and she seemed to enjoy it, but I was like, God damn it, Donna. And then she does it one more time. I'm like, God damn it, Donna. I ain't no harm, no foul. They can have it at this point. It's just they're not getting anything from it. And we're going to start her on the veggies and stuff. But yeah, dinner was great, but we ate way too. It is said that the average person eats over 3,000 calories in Thanksgiving dinner meal alone. So I ate a lot, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was delicious. Everything was cooked phenomenally. Kudos to Donna and Perry, my in-laws, and boy, it was just a really good one. The food, I think it took me 2 days to recover. But I finally did. Actually, that's why the episode's coming around noon. I just got out of a food coma. That's why it's noon instead of the normal 8 a.m. Tuesday. But it was good. I hope everybody enjoyed a happy, safe Thanksgiving. No issues, no drinking and driving. And if you drunk and drove, don't get caught. Just don't drink and drive. But, just be safe. It was a great time for us. It was Penny's first memory of Thanksgiving. I think I put up some pictures. I'll probably throw a few more up on the page. I put a few up on the page. Take a look, see the lovely that is my daughter and family. And that was our first Thanksgiving. Moving on, it was uncharacteristically chilly in Los Angeles, so I grabbed Penny to snuggle up in a blanket. She generally is shit at napping, folks. She naps for like a half an hour. She'll nod in and out. She does not get a good nap in. None of those newborn naps where she was basically asleep all the time and not awake. She was like she would used to sleep for like 3 hours, and she'd be like, cry, feed, gone. That's the newborn. And expecting parents out there, expecting dads, that's the newborn. They're awake for like 5 minutes a day. And especially when people want to come over and visit, everyone wants to see them. Like, well, they're asleep. Please don't bother her because she will freak out. But now she's shit at napping, and it's because she wants to be entertained. So I grabbed Penny. It was chilly. Grabbed her, and I had a blanket on myself, which is rare. And I wrapped her up with me, and I gave her a little bit of a bottle. No, I gave her a toy, and she just started chewing on its ear. And within minutes, she was out like a light. And I'm like, cool. All right, I got a few minutes. Grabbed my Nintendo Switch, played a little Pokemon. What are you going to do? And I'm sitting there, we're watching TV. My wife's in the room, and she's just out. She was out for like 3 hours. And so we want to try and get her on a nap schedule. She's going to daycare soon, and we really just got to figure out how to do that. And I'm like, oh, the heavy swaddle thing is really necessary because she won't go down on her own. And I tried to do one of those the armless ones, or it's a newer sleep sack that's not as restrictive, and she did not. Last night we did not have that, and she really was up all night. It felt like the first couple weeks, man. She was up and fussy and struggling around. We just didn't have another one. We left it in the car, and it was late, and so yeah. So we're gonna start swaddling her or sleep sacking her and putting her down for naps on the weekends, because we're obviously gonna be at daycare otherwise. But it's pretty. That's a good thing to know, because I didn't have any stock in like, oh, swaddle her for a nap and everything will be fine. I'm like, okay, that doesn't seem like it's gonna do a whole lot extra, but it really does offer a world of difference. And these are the things you learn the more you know. One more note on Thanksgiving. As I told you, I have probably the gassiest baby on earth, and it is adorable. While we were sitting at the table while she was in her high chair, and we were able to put the high chair right up to the table, and she puts her feet up on the edge of the table, which she loves putting her feet on top of things, which is adorable. And she slowly starts like pushing her high chair away, and it's not like it doesn't have rubber bottoms, so it will slide a little bit. So she was able to push herself away, which she loves seeing the reactions to her actions. And she just lets out these machine gun farts, like it's like loud enough. Everybody just kind of stops, and you just hear like from my daughter's little toot factory, and it was adorable. And we're all just like, this is great, because, first of all, we're all going to be doing that in about 10 minutes. So let's not judge not. We ended up, because we had eaten so much, my wife, my father-in-law, and I took a walk around the block, because my wife felt like she was going to explode. And I was getting there, and I was just, I'm like, I'm not going back for seconds. I went back for seconds. I did. So, but I think that about wraps up my Thanksgiving. This new thing's happening. I was looking at Penny the other day, and I just said hi, and she started giggling. Like like one of those cute giggles, and she straight up looked at me and giggled at me for 10 minutes and didn't stop. And I'm like, what's the joke? I'm like, who did you just talk to? What did I do? I know I'm adorable, but it was really, really funny. She does this, I told you, she has kind of a cackle, which is like, at the end of like, she doesn't know how to super laugh, I guess, but she was just having a good time. She's been very fun lately. Like, she's been very, very like, she's laughing a lot, she's engaging, she's grabbing things. It's great, and I guess I'll talk about that more in the pay development section. To kind of, I'll put a pin in that for now, I suppose. Penny saw her first movie this weekend, Frozen 2, which I will tell you, Frozen 2, the music was a little not as great, but good. And the storyline was better than the first one for sure. It was very enjoyable. And yeah, you know what? You say it's weird that an adult's reviewing a child's movie. Well, when you start having to watch kids' movies with your kids, if you haven't already, you shut the fuck up. Like, all right, that's just what you do. You're going to be like, I have a scale on what good movies and bad movies are. But yeah, it was, we brought it, my mother-in-law bought us all tickets to the movie theater. I said it was a bad idea, but she already bought the tickets. And I'm like, all right, I guess we're going. I didn't want to take Penny to a movie theater at 4.5 months, 5 months. But we did. And she was, for the most part, we got her down. She went down for a nap for the last half hour of the movie, so she'll never figure out what happens. But she sat there, she watched it for a little bit, she fussed around, we kind of played with a toy. It's just, I'm at the point where I'm kind of not as, I don't want to be the asshole at the movie theater with a baby, but if you want to be the asshole that comes down and gives me shit about having my baby at a movie theater, I will give you shit back, and I will make your experience miserable. Luckily, no one did that, but there were some people in the back, and I was going to be like, if you even bother to come down here and be like, could you keep your baby quiet? I'll be like, do you know what I've been doing for the last 4.5 months? I'm like, this is a vacation for me right now, so you shut up and get the hell out of my face. It's crazy, because I am pretty good about not confronting people about stuff that they can't control, and I'm trying to not be an asshole in certain situations, but I have told you repeatedly, I have a short fuse. I have a very short fuse now, and I'm just trying to have a good weekend with the family, so why don't you back off? It's a kids movie. You'll get over it. You can rent it when it comes out. It's not Avengers or which is still a kids movie, I guess, but it's not the only time you're ever going to be able to see this movie. Yeah. Penny's first movie, Frozen 2, was a fun experience. And the last bit of prepared material I have for you this morning is daycare. Oh my God, we're finally in daycare, right? Not. We are not in daycare. We are grossly underprepared for this process. So please, if you are pregnant, if you're gonna have kids soon, follow my daycare debauchery stories, my daycare debacles, my daycare destructiveness, because we got the enrollment packet and we're ready to drop her off on Monday, and this makes sense. It's not really anyone's fault. It would have been nice if someone had actually taken the time to explain some of this shit to us, but we figured it out. I guess when Sarah went to drop off Penny. And she's like, oh, well, we need to enroll her first, so we need to process your paperwork. And I'm like, so what? And and they wouldn't even let her pay. So I need a call from my wife. And she goes, so Penny's not going to daycare today. And I'm like, what? My wife doesn't want her to go to daycare, so I kind of thought this was some convoluted scheme on her end. But it wasn't. They have to do the paperwork, and then we pay the fee, and she starts officially Wednesday. I will let you know if she doesn't start Wednesday, but why would this process be easy? Why would it? Oh, and a caveat. Oh, let me add on. So on things that we thought were settled that aren't settled, around the time I got my paid family leave final check, I actually got a letter saying that I had exhausted my benefits. Now, when I get 6 weeks of bullshit pay, I'd only taken 2 weeks of bullshit pay, and they're like, oh, you've used all your benefits. So I had to write an appeal about that. I'm not even gonna use the rest of my benefits, but I'm not gonna let you tell me I can't. So yeah, that's another, again, anytime you think something in this nonsensory of being a parent is over, it continues, and it's slowly, it's just like it's seething, it's writhing beneath the surface, ready to come out. So I will give you an update as to if and when Penny ever does start daycare, and if and when paid family leave gets out of its own goddamn way. And that's something I'm going to, for sure, keep you abreast of. And let's move on. Let's move our way to everyone's favorite newly named segment, the best segment, I think, that you could ever find on a podcast recorded at these exact GPS coordinates in this household, on this floor, in front of this microphone, ranked. Okay, we're going to move on to the Dadly News. Here's a fun one, guys. Kind of an interesting debate, I guess. Well, this would inspire debate, because there are there are irrational parts on both sides, and there are very understandable parts on both sides. So I'll let you be the judge. This is from foxnews.com via Google. Dad sends his in-laws strict guidelines for visiting newborn baby, and it doesn't go well. A dad's very strict list of rules for visiting his newborn son is giving new meaning to the term helicopter parent. The father shared his family dilemma in a Reddit post explaining that his guidelines to his parents and in-laws have caused a rift. After holding off visits to the hospital on the first day and after the baby was born, and the admittedly anxious new parent said he and his wife decided to email their families with a list of things to avoid when coming to see their son for the very first time. Neither of our families are super clear on the whole boundaries deal when it comes to newborns, the anonymous dad wrote. The list of no-nos included a ban on anyone who's sick, not to mention anyone under 18 because schools are breeding ground for viruses. Due to his mother being a heavy perfume user, he also asked visitors to wear light or no fragrance. There were some other things I threw in, he added, including letting the couple know in the advance there are some other things I threw in, he added, including letting the couple know in the advance what time they're coming, keeping the visit between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., and only 3 to 4 people at a time. I felt a little overbearing, but my wife read it over and said it sounded fine. His parents and in-laws, however, did not adhere to the couple's strict rules. The dad's parents showed up at the wrong scheduled time, running into his aunt's time slot. What more, he said, his mother came into the room and undoes the baby's swaddle. An hour later, his in-laws showed up while his parents were still there and their grandson in tow. My wife tells them that they can't bring him in. Their grandson starts to cry, and my mother-in-law starts to scold us and forbidding children. So my father pipes up saying that we're being too coddling, he wrote. His mother accused the couple of being rude and cold, and that as the grandmother, it's her right to visit the baby when she pleases, and she shouldn't have to RSVP to her grandson's birth. She also said that he was impolite for sending out a demanding email, and that if he continued to regulate his son as strictly as he did their visits, he'll grow up resenting my wife and I. These things continued to spiral as his mother told him that she raised him too well to be so rude to his family, and his mother-in-law told his wife that she didn't crack down on him, they'd never visit again. My wife has changed her tune about the whole thing and thinks I was being too combative, he added. I really don't think I was that wrong in exercising my boundaries. I think that them not listening is proof it was needed. Reddit commenters who weighed in on the post appeared to have mixed feelings on the matter. Your kid, your rules, one Reddit user commented. You and your wife need to have a serious conversation about expectations in dealing with family and how to best project a united front while dealing with them. Another person wrote, you have to admit that the email is a little bit over the top, controlling. I definitely would have felt weird receiving that and would have replied in a snippy way as well. There was one comment, however, everyone could probably agree on. Thanksgiving's gonna be fun for you. Well, Thanksgiving is gonna be really fun for them, guys. That's an interesting standpoint. Now, okay, let's break it down. No kids from school, the sickness thing's a little bit much. We let our nieces in to when we were it was like day one or day 2, we let our nieces both in and hold her. Well, and we'll touch her. I don't think we let anybody really hold her except for her godmother and our parents. But, so I could see where that could be a thing, but that one I would say that's not on my list. No one who's sick is a given. It's a given. That's just common sense because the mother who just gave birth has a weakened immune system because of it. The baby doesn't have an immune system, and the father probably doesn't want to get fucking sick. So, screw that. I find it a little bit, the timing thing I kind of get. They want to get in a schedule, but at the same time, everyone has different schedules. The no perfume or heavy fragrance deal. I kind of get that. I'm not thinking that his list necessarily is obtuse. I think it's a little first-time parent. And my wife and I had a lot of proclivities before we had the kid, and we kind of just gave up when we finally got through our 40-hour labor and all that nonsense. But still, people are allowed to decide what they want for who's going to be around their kid, what's going to be around their kid. I think that sending the email out, and it probably, that could easily come over as abrasive. It could have been a discussion. Probably would have been better if it was a discussion. I think the in-laws and the parents were in the wrong to deliberately, without contacting them, disobey what their kid had asked for, because if you told me you're coming over at 2 and I have a newborn, I'm barely holding my shit together as it is, and then you show up at 6 p.m. or like earlier, like 12. I'm not ready for that. So that's kind of a fucked up move, in my opinion. Like, and I agree, you shouldn't withhold your kids from your in-laws, but there's been 2 or 3 times where my mother-in-law or my father-in-law were like, hey, let's hang out with Penny. We're like, hey, we don't want to go anywhere, frankly. And we have a cat, so my father-in-law is allergic to cats, so he can't really come over the house. But I'm like, we always say if you want to come over here. And then sometimes we just don't want to be around people. Like the 3 to 4 people max. That makes so much sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. You don't want to have that many people around your newborn. It's very like, I'm on both sides, because I can see they probably were deeply cut or offended by the fact that this email was very and I'm sure it just seemed like it was directly calling out certain people. I don't think it was handled. I just think this whole situation was handled improperly, but I don't think I can really vote on either side, because I could see an overprotective new parent. They always say the first kid is the hardest because you're so new to it, you don't know what you're doing. So and it's chaos. Having a new kid is chaos. It is the epitome. You just opened Pandora's box. So there's a lot going on. So if the one thing that you think you need to do to create some semblance of order in your life is to create a list of do's and don'ts for people who are coming to visit, that's not the worst thing in the world, because trying to hold on to some semblance of normalcy during the first few weeks of having a baby, it's really tough. It is really, really tough. I don't even know how we got through it. I don't know how a lot of people get through it, especially if you're just you don't have nannies or anything like that. So that I get that. And especially when you're like type A and you need to have your list of things, that makes sense to me, to be honest with you. Being like, hey, okay, so what's going to make it's not about what makes your life easier in the first month or so of pregnancy. It's about what makes the parent's life easier. So him putting that out there, again, probably didn't have to be an email. That's a little clinical, but whatever. Probably was his way of holding on to some level of sanity in the 2 hours of sleep a week he's getting. Then the parents being like, instead of calling or talking directly from this article, I don't know anything past this article, the parents just blatantly ignoring things on purpose. No offense, but like, my nieces are older, they're old enough, but like, I don't think it's going to ruin their lives if they have to wait a week to see my kid. The one's like, oh, I brought your grandson, as you specifically said, no kids. Now, under 18 is a little obnoxious, but like, let's say like elementary school age kids are just germ factories. And again, the mother has a weakened immune system in this situation. The father doesn't want to get sick because he's handling a lot as well. And the baby does not have one. So I haven't had to deal, thank God, with anything with Penny at the moment. But if you came into my house and caused my baby to be sick, it'd be serious questions as to whether or not you were going to be allowed back into my house. So yeah, I guess I kind of lean. The article is stacked against the father in this situation, but I'm kind of leaning with him. I think that he didn't handle it properly, for sure. But you do have to set boundaries, and a lot of families don't have boundaries, and that's fine. Like in a lot of situations, you don't need to have boundaries with your family, but when it comes to your newborn and you haven't had one yet, and you're still figuring out how to do things, you need to be able to be in full control of your situation and your life. If you have people just showing up at your house, like, oh, hey, we're here, and, parents have a key, parents can just walk in, we're here, hi, we just drove over, we didn't say anything, that can really fuck up what you're trying to work on. So I don't think that, let's say that the meaning for what he did sounds to me like it was kind of a way to hold on to his sanity. If I can, it's like having a really complicated task. 46 steps you have to go in. You need to get to D. You're here at A, and making sure that you fully vet out from A to B to C to D, all the steps in between. Lining up kind of puts you on a good path. It makes you feel like you have a grasp on the situation. So I can see that. The parents wanting to see the grandkid, I can see that. That makes sense to me too. And I don't think he was abrasive by saying like, keep it to 9 to 5, which, I mean, if he didn't have the kid at that point, he's like, oh yeah, like your kid's going to follow a sleep schedule, but keep it to 9 to 5. And just give us a heads up if you're coming over, or at least just, hey, sorry, we're coming over a little early. Don't bring 25 people. We had 3 of our friends show up at the hospital, and it was great. We loved seeing them there, and they all got to see Penny. They were so happy, but we had a lot of anxiety. There was a lot of people in a very small room, so you don't want to have a lot of people, a lot of complicated things going on. So, I think they probably, this family needs to talk. It really does sound like there's a lot more to it than just this. It sounds like maybe the in-law or the parents who are just barging in probably have an issue higher than this list, and they're using this list as a soapbox. But, that's my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. You know where to contact us. It is kind of crazy to me to think about that, but I guess I love forming my opinion as I'm talking, but I definitely kind of side more with the guy in this, where you need to be able to lay down the law when it comes to your first kid. If you don't know what's going on, it's a lot easier for you to have all the control than for chaos that you're living in to add more chaos to that chaos. And that's all I'll have to say about that. I will now take us down a long journey, the whole journey that started this journey. We're the journey of where my penny is at developmentally. Where my penny is at developmentally. Say, where my penny is at developmentally. Developmental cyclone, the developmental maelstrom, they say. I think what she's working on most right now is she's trying to communicate effectively. She's now pursing her lips and trying to be like, oh, and you can see she's trying to work out words, which is adorable. My friend Jameson had mentioned they were like proto words, is what were things. Like she's putting together strings of sounds, and she's attaching a meaning to them, I believe, because she's using the same ones in similar circumstances. So she's a smart kid. And I'm really excited about that because I want to talk to her. I've been saying this the whole time. I want to have a chit-chat with my little baby boo. But yeah, she's been very vocal. This morning we were trying to watch Avatar because we have Disney Plus. Why not? And she'll sit there and she'll be like, she's smiling. She's not in distress, but she will just like listen to the sound of her own voice, and I think she's like, in her head I see like calculations happening where she's just going, okay, if I do this sound it makes this sound, if I do this it gives them that reaction, if I giggle it makes them do this. So she's definitely a smart kid, and I'm proud of her for trying. I can't wait for her first words. I can't wait to hear what she has to say. She's my little lady. I guess really not a whole lot in anything else. She's sitting up a lot more. She can't sit up on her own, but she prefers when we're hitting on the couch to like sit with her back up, and so I'll brace her that way, and she enjoys it. She sat up in the high chair, as I told you earlier. She sat up at the movies, as I told you earlier. But yeah, she is she's advancing, and at a staggering rate. I'm just blown away as to how far we've come in less than 5 months. And it is very good to see that she seems to be on a great track. She seems to be very excited about learning. And when she gets to kindercare fucking finally, then she'll be in a place where she's going to be constantly pushed to do more and more and more, and then she will join the ranks of people who can talk and sit up. So that's an exciting thing. That's about all I have on the Penny Dev. I'm keeping notes, but right now it's a lot of internal development, I believe, where she is trying to figure things out mentally. And I'll keep you posted as things change there. Guys, I again appreciate you sitting with me. We're over 1,000 downloads. We're up there. We're getting a lot of steam, guys. It's all because of you. All I can ask in return, I don't ask for money. I don't ask for favors. Well, I guess it's a favor, is share the podcast with one person that you know is expecting a kid or has a kid, newborn at this point. It really makes more sense because an older kid, they're past where I'm talking about. Just give it to them. Let them know that this is it's something new that's coming out there. And moms could benefit from this too, hearing a dad's perspective on certain situations. That's one big thing. for sure. Sorry, I just had to shoo my cat away. She was biting my feet. I really write a review on iTunes, write a review on Podbean, pick a spot, write it out. Show us. We're Shits and Giggles, guys. This is a podcast for dads, a podcast for me, a podcast for you, and a podcast for anyone who really gives a shit to listen. But I really appreciate it. You guys are really making me feel good. And I'm upgrading my audio set as we go along. There should be better quality audio coming in the near future. I think the audio quality is great, by the way. I do a good job of that. But I can do nothing else but improve. But I will leave you, as I do every week, with my world-famous words of wisdom. My kid is better than your kid, and vaccinate your kids or keep them the hell away from mine. I'm Matt Howes, and this has been Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. You've just listened to one dad's perspective on parenting. This show is not meant to be an authority on how you should raise your kids. Did you enjoy the show? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on social media. Leave a review. Anywhere that you can find and download podcasts, you can find Shits and Giggles. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at shitsandgigs42 with 2 G's. Email us at shitsandgigs42@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube as well by searching for Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. Don't forget, you can also call the hotline to leave a quick story about you as a parent at 818-835-2350. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.